Hello and welcome to Two Man Power Trip of Wrestling and the latest podcast. I am your host, JP John Paz. And of course, joining me, the former WCW head writer, the former WWF head writer, the former WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Vince Russo. Vince, welcome back. How you doing?
What is going on, John? I see you're all ready for football season. I saw we had some exhibition games last night, bro. Right around the corner, man.
Yeah, crazy how fast that snuck up. And fantasy football is coming up, and hopefully the Giants are good this year. So we'll see about football. I don't know about the Giants. I'm a little bit on the fence if they're going to be good or not.
Yeah. Well, you're a Yankees fan too, right?
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
man. The chaos surrounding the Yankees right now,
They
bro. I read
stink.
online every single day. People are going absolutely crazy, bro.
They stink. And it's funny, they get all these guys to the bullpen. The first game, they blow every single opportunity. And then they
Yep.
bring in Devin Williams. He blows the game 3 games in a row. It's like, holy crap. Can't do
Yeah.
anything right.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
And Boone, I don't know. Boone might be a disaster, too. It's just, I don't think it's working. I don't know.
I don't either, man. I don't either. I think he's on his last legs.
And it's crazy. Grisham and Bellinger are having like the best years they've had in forever. And then
Yeah.
you got Judge, who I know he just got hurt and missed 10 games, but still he was on fire. Like what more can the offense do? It's like Cashman after the injuries, he didn't get any better pitchers. I don't know. They're a mess.
Yeah, they are right now. We'll see what happens, man. We still got some season left. We still got about 7 weeks left. We'll see what
Yep.
happens.
And it's funny, the Giants got Devers and they stink. Like it's
Yeah,
weird the way baseball is.
really weird, bro. Really weird.
You can't figure it out.
No,
You can't like the Giants won all those World Series as soon as Bonds left, and Bonds was a god and the best player of all time, and like then they start winning. It makes no sense.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Make baseball's a funny game, man. 162 games. That's why, bro. There's
Yeah,
ups, there's downs. It's a long season, man.
for sure. Now today, of course, we're talking about the immortal Hulk Hogan, the Babe Ruth, the icon, the god of wrestling, the GOAT, who recently passed away. Just what were your first thoughts on his death? Because we had been talking off air and on air about Hulk, and you're saying not good. Bubba the Love Sponge, obviously, we both said like obviously he's got insider information. He knows something that we don't. So, what did you think when you first heard about the passing of the
Yeah,
immortal Hulk Hogan?
John, it's funny because, I mean, Bub has kind of been keeping in touch with me, I'd say, for at least maybe the last 4 to 6 weeks. And the thing with it, John, was he was really sending me specific details. So, in my mind, like, I knew a couple of things. Number one, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that Bubba knew the people in Hogan's inner circle. No
Yeah,
question about that. He was best friends with Hogan for 15 years. He knows the people around him, number one. Number two, he had absolutely no reason to be lying. I mean, in this day and age, John, of lawsuits and libel and slander and all that stuff, no way in the world he's just making this up. But, John, to me, the most telling thing was we weren't hearing anything from Hulk.
yeah,
And if anybody knows John, you know Hulk. And Hulk would have been the first guy telling you everything is great. I'll be back soon, brother, when I kick out of this. He would have been doing that if he was able. And the fact that we did not hear from Hulk, I was like, bro, this is more serious than people are letting on. But John, just like you, I mean, I sit here today, and no matter what people may think, freaking people still get caught up in the Bash at the Beach, stupid storyline television bullshit. John, to this day, I still can't believe he's gone. I mean, Hulk Hogan will always be professional wrestling. I mean, professional wrestling without Hulk is almost not professional wrestling. And we've lost greats, John. Let's face it. We've lost Piper. We've lost Savage. You've lost Andre. We've lost greats over the years. But Hulk Hogan always will be professional wrestling, man. And it still doesn't feel right. I don't think it's ever going to feel right.
I know. Still. I mean, a couple weeks ago now, it still just bothers me. It's like, man, that sucks. The immortal Hulk Hogan thinks can live forever. Obviously, Hulkamania
Exactly.
will live forever, but you just think that in your mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You do, because, you're told immortal Hulk, immortal Hulk, immortal Hulk. And bro, too, like 71 years old is, I mean, that's relatively young,
Yeah.
John. And it's, man, it sucks. It really, really does suck.
Sadly, That's actually not that young for a wrestler, though. You know what I mean? Like
That's
some of them
true.
died so young, so it's like
That's true.
he outlived, a lot of his predecessors and a lot of his friends and a lot of the guys that he went up and down the roads with. But it's good, like to think about it, it's like 71. It's pretty damn young for
Yeah,
just in general
absolutely.
to me.
Yeah.
The thing about Bubba the Love Sponge to me, and I didn't like him for years because of the Hogan stuff, but like going back and now he's really becoming a presence and listening to him and listening to you guys on Piers Morgan and stuff like that. Like I didn't realize he's still like a big Hulk fan. Like he was still like he was trying to be friends with him and stuff. I didn't know that. So because I thought he was a Hulk basher, so I was
Yeah.
kind of against it for a while. But I didn't realize he's very like pro Hogan. I actually like him again. I've been listening to
Yeah.
him.
No, John, I swear, when he was texting me, bro, this is a couple of weeks before Hulk died. Like he even said to me, Vince, they're telling people that are close to Hulk to go pay their last respects. And I wrote back to him and I said, you know what, Bubba? I said, whatever went down between you guys, I said, if this dude is really on his deathbed, I said, bro, F all that. You need to go to the hospital. You need to go see him. Screw all that stuff. And Bubba
Yep.
said to me, he said, Vince, I would in a heartbeat. He says, there is no way they would let me anywhere near that hospital. Bubba loved Hulk, man. I mean, he
Yeah.
loved him. He loved him to the end. He was really loyal. He never bad-mouthed him. And yeah, I mean, John, and he's doing a lot of deep diving right now because there's a lot of things that don't make sense. There's a lot of really weird kabuki-ish stuff going on around his death. And I was reading today from above a headline that, Brooke is going to pay for an autopsy. But really, really weird circumstances, man.
Yeah, when his daughter is getting involved in saying, like, if somebody outside the family says you're like, oh, it's conspiracy theorist, blah, blah, blah. But when his own daughter is saying it, it's like, okay, now like your eyebrows raised up, like, what the hell? What is going on here? Which is an interesting relationship with him and Brooke, but it was good to hear that she was saying it was kind of more because of Sky and like different people involved and like the business dealings, or why she kind of stepped away from him for a while. So
Yeah.
interesting to hear from Brooke.
It's funny, man, because I just wonder. I don't know. I just wonder. She keeps talking about these people in his inner circle, and he was the cash cow, and
Yeah.
she didn't get along with them, et cetera, et cetera. I can only wonder if one of the people she's talking about is Eric Bischoff. I don't know, but Eric and Eric and Hulk had so many business deals together, and I mean, Eric said it flat out. He would have never been in TNA if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. Dixie Carter did not want Eric. She wanted Hulk. And Hulk played the Eric card. Well, if I come, brother, he's got to come. And these guys did this like, kind of from God, bro, for the last almost 30 years, from 1996 on. So I'm just curious if he's one of the people she's talking about.
Do you remember the awesome Hulk line about Bischoff from '96? Do you remember what he said?
Mm-mm.
So funny. Obviously, it's like in character, but a lot of people take it like they take. He goes, "If it wasn't for me, Eric Bischoff would be selling meat out of the back of a truck in Minneapolis, brother."
I'm telling you, bro, like, hey, listen, man, one hand washes the other because it all started with the amount of money Eric paid Hulk to go to WCW.
Right,
So,
he brought him in. He literally brought him in. Yeah,
exactly. So that's where it all started. It was probably more than Hulk should have gotten at that point in his life. But I guarantee you, from that point on, Hulk felt like he was indebted to Eric a little bit, and they just kept returning the favors for each other, man, throughout their career.
well, think about it. Eventually, they start the NWO and literally change the business forever in the boom
Right.
period. So,
Absolutely. Yep.
like
Absolutely.
obviously, it was worth it with Hulk. Maybe not giving him all that creative control and paying him,
Yeah.
like 25 grand just to show up. You know what I mean? Like all the stuff that you're reading about, all the money, but still, eventually it was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. But when he was originally signed for all that cash, I mean, the NWO was in nobody's mind. They happened to stumble upon that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Hulk in the NWO, they made all their money back and more without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, obviously when they originally brought him in, I mean, we'll get to it, but it's the Thunder in Paradise days, if you will. It's the American-made Hulk Hogan when he
Yeah.
first comes in,
Yeah.
which does spike their business. If you look at like pay-per-views and their ratings, like he does spike their business, but it's not like NWO where he completely
No.
transformed the business.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah.
So you still talk to Bubba, like you like to call him, and I joke around Bubba.
Yeah.
Bubba
Oh yeah.
was
No,
Bubba.
still keep in touch with Bubba. We may do some things together. I'm kind of waiting until all this passes because I know he's in this thing knee deep. But yeah, man, we still, bro. I said this all along. I swear to God, bro, and I think I was the only one that said this. Hulk got Bubba in TNA.
Yes.
I was writing at the time, John. John, I thought Bubba was a great heel. I wasn't one of the ones cutting a promo on Bubba that Hulk got him in. The guy was a great heel. The guy knew what he was doing behind a microphone. So, like, I never, ever had an issue with, Bubba being on TNA. As a matter of fact, John, I don't know if you know this, you probably do because we do so many shows together, but bro, I was the one who pulled Awesome Kong off of Bubba. I was the one that was there saving Bubba's life.
Yep.
So like I've never ever said anything, negative about Bubba. I thought he was tailor-made for the wrestling business.
Funny though, he's very not self-deprecating, but almost self-deprecating. Where he's like, "I wouldn't have been there without Hulk, or I shouldn't have been there." I'm just a mark and stuff like that. Like, kind of interesting to hear his. Like, you would think he would be like, "I was a second most popular disc jockey," or he'd say something, but he
Yeah.
was very, very humble about it. I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, Hulk, let's not forget, John, Hulk got a lot of people jobs. Bro, let's go back even further. Hulk made a lot of people a lot of money.
Yes.
Because when he was on top of the WWE and wrestlers were on the card and they were getting a percentage of the gate, Hulk made a lot of people a lot of money. Then later on in his career, he got a lot of people jobs. He got a lot of people second and third chances that they would not have gotten. So when Brooke talks about the cash cow, bro, she's spot on. This dude, I don't think there's gonna be anybody close in the wrestling business outside of Vince McMahon who made other wrestlers a shit load of money. And he made a lot of people, bro, a lot of money.
See, Jake the Snake Roberts says it so well, and not that he's buddies with Hogan at all, and they're friendly with him. He said whenever Hulk took card, he made more money, and he said the people that didn't work with him, Bobby the Brain Heenan said the same thing. People that didn't work with him were mad at him because they didn't work with him because they didn't make more money. And Jake himself said we had a 3-match program, and that maybe Jake was getting too much cheers, or Vince didn't like the way maybe Jake got a pop. He shouldn't have gotten a pop. He obviously he's got to keep the Hogan train going. Not sure how true that is, but basically it was cut off after the 3 matches. And Jake was so mad. He goes, "Man, he just cost me Vince, meaning it just cost me $100,000 per show that I would have made more than So he was upset that he didn't work with Hogan.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
It's super honest about it. Basically, I wanted to work with the guy. I want to make more money.
Yeah, because bro, that's what wrestling was about back then. Making money. That's what it was about. And the wrestlers knew. I mean, I've talked to Al Snow about this, so many times. They knew if they were on Hogan's card, they were going to make money. And they were very, very, very grateful, to Hulk Hogan. Then you got the other side of the coin, though, John, with the Jessies and the unions and all that stuff. But again, at the end of the day, man, bro, I was saying this, John, when he was alive. And John, come on, you and I have done enough shows together. I never said anything negative about Hulk. I would not be in the business if it was for Hulk Hogan. And I said that in the very first book I wrote. So pull no punches about it. And I say this all the time too about Hulk Hogan, man. Bro, like any other wrestler, he was trying to protect his spot. They all do that, bro. That because they came up independent contractors. It's every man for themselves. So if it wasn't Hulk in that spot trying to protect his spot, it would have been somebody else. So I never blamed him for any of those things because wrestling was a cutthroat business because that's the way it was set up from the beginning.
And the union thing, I love Jesse, so I'm not saying anything negative, but the union thing, that was even a work by Jesse because if you think about it, oh, Hogan did this, blah, blah, blah. He went to SAG and he became a unionized by being an actor. So he didn't care about the wrestlers getting unionized. So people got to realize that. And Hulk sniffed that out in 2 seconds. The guy doesn't give a shit. Like, and
Yeah.
obviously you got to protect yourself because if you're Hogan, you're making that money, you don't want to unionize and you jeopardize the money you're making and
Right.
everything else. You kind of you screw especially the top guys. But Jesse didn't care. He went to SAG and got his SAG card. He pulled a Terry Funk. He's like, all right,
Right.
I'll get unionized and I'll get insurance from being an actor. So he
Right.
didn't care. People blow that out of proportion. That was a work by Jesse too.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so
Think about this though, right? All the guys you're saying like he got jobs and money and stuff. So he kind of brings Savage in, kind of brings his attention like, hey, we got to bring in Savage. Okay, so that's one guy. Obviously, Savage stands in his own merit. He's a god. He's awesome. But he sees Bundy, brings Bundy over. Our buddy Bundy, he was saying, Bundy told me, he goes, man, I owe Hulk so much, and blah blah. He goes, God made me so much money. He got me a push, got me a WrestleMania main event. I got this much more money. He was, talking about, Hogan helped him. Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Where would Beefcake be without Hogan? Who knows? I mean, he's over and he was a huge star in his own right, but where is he without Hogan? Like, you know
yeah.
what I mean? Where are these guys without Hulk?
Oh no, there's no question about that, bro. And when Hulk was having his babyface run in the early 80s, bro, he was picking his opponents. You talk about Bundy, perfect example. Big John Studd, perfect example. Hogan knew the guys he could make money with. Bro, the one thing about Hulk, bro, is I swear to God, more than anybody in the history of the wrestling business, a businessman through and through. To the end, bro, with the Great American Beer, the new wrestling, federation he was getting involved in. And bro, unfortunately, that actually may have had a hand in killing him
Yeah,
because
much.
you're listening to Bubba, bro, and we're hearing about these extensive, dangerous, life-threatening surgeries, and the guy kept immediately going back to work. He would not rest up, he would not get healthy. And it seems like that may have caught up with him in the end. But man, when it comes to business and professional wrestling, I think of him and Kevin Nash. Like him and Kevin Nash were the two guys that we know we're on top. We know how this business is. We know we have a window and we are going to cash in and make as much money as we possibly can. That's what I was saying now, bro, about all these deals the WWE are making. Bro, if I'm one of the boys now, and you're going to freaking hit me with a low ball contract, knowing the kind of money you're bringing in now, you're out of your freaking mind. And I have a feeling that's what they're going to do because I think the WWE has a mentality that everybody is replaceable. But the fact of the matter is, as this money is coming in, the wrestlers at that company should be making more money. And if they aren't, man, again, you go back to the union, but my God, if this were Hulk and Kevin and we're working for the WWE and they saw this type of money coming in, damn well their lawyer would have been on the phone immediately with the WWE to negotiate their contracts.
Hey, it's a business, right?
That's right.
Hulk used to always say it's a business to shoot, and everyone would be like, "What do you mean it's a shoot to work?" He's like, "No, it's a shoot because I'm getting a paycheck. I'm getting money. Like if you're on top, you should be getting more money. If the company's making more money, like this is a shoot, brother. It's like so easy to think about, but so many of the guys don't think about that way.
Well, because we live in a day and age, John, I swear to God, I will never forget. I'm going back to 2002, and TNA just started. And bro, I got a hold of TNA payroll. And Jerry was like running TNA back then. And I remember I said to him, bro, these are my exact words in 2002. Jerry, you can't pay these guys such little amount of money. That's what I said to him, bro. Bro, without missing a beat, Jerry Jarrett laughed and said, Vince, are you kidding me? They would pay us to be on our TV. That's what you're looking at today, bro. The wrestlers today are happy to be there. They're marks for wrestling. I keep saying it. The marks have made it into the ring. And outside of a few guys, bro, the money is really secondary. They just love being a wrestler, and they're so thankful that they have a job wrestling. It's not about the money. And these guys are going to learn that, bro, when they're 40, when they're 50, and they're 60, and they're going to look back, and the bank account's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and they're saying, why didn't I ask for more money when I was on top?
Hey, it's like Hogan always would want more money and money for appearances and everything like that. I remember talking to Dr. D. David Schultz, who obviously was not the biggest Hogan fan after a while, but he was saying that he literally brought him in and had him, obviously this is late 70s, early 80s here. He had him living in his apartment with him because Hogan was living out, out of his van. And he said that Hulk said, I'm never like going to live out of my van again. Obviously, he became a big star in New Japan, AWA, and then WWF. But he was basically said then, I'm never living out of my van again. I feel like he had that mindset for the rest of his life.
Well, you know what's funny, John? That's the thing I think about today's wrestlers. A lot of them came through the indie circuit. It was like a second job. Bro, that when you told me that story, I immediately think of, bro, Austin had such heat with Jeff Jarrett because of Jerry Jarrett, because Austin told me himself when he was working for USWA, Jerry Jarrett was making a shitload of money and Austin was living on boiled potatoes. And that's funny that you mentioned Hulk and the van. It's the same thing with Austin. Bro, they don't forget those times. Like they were making a living as a wrestler. And if that meant living in a van or living on boiled potatoes, that's what they were going to do. Whereas today, you either you come up on the indie scene where it's not your full-time job, or you're in that NXT and they're paying you to train and become a wrestler. So that's the huge difference, bro. So unless you really experienced being broke, not having money, living in a van, unless you really experience that, bro, you probably don't understand the value of the dollar.
And I feel like once you get to like Hogan's level and you're like that, like you obviously you never want to go back there, but that's probably in the back of your mind, like, oh
Oh,
man, I
yeah,
came so far, but you
absolutely.
want to keep your spot. And then you become Hulk Hogan, you're a brand. It's not just, oh, I'll job to this guy. But no, you got to be thinking about like the whole spectrum. Like you are a brand, you're bigger than WWF. You're literally bigger.
Bro, you know what I keep saying, what I keep thinking about, John, that nobody is really talking about. And I think I don't know if I brought this up on Piers or I think I did a News Nation. John, you want to hear something hysterical? You've never seen Castrating the Marks, have you?
Oh, of course I have. I've been on Castrating the
Okay,
Marks.
John, the last episode we just did, we recorded it on Wednesday night. They call Meltzer to go on News Nation.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Okay, John, throughout the entire interview, he's blinking, he's squinting, he's rubbing his eyes, he's got tears rolling down his face, his eyes are bloodshot red. And I'm watching this and I'm like, this effing moron dyed his hair right before this interview and got that dye in his freaking eyes, bro. And he's going through the whole interview trying to clear his eyes, and you could tell he's in such immense pain. And I'm like, bro, there is something, John, please don't ever do this, because Sap is doing it too. Bro, there is something with these Meltzers and these Saps, and where they feel they have to dye their hair to have this young look, because I don't know if that's how they feel relevant, but what they don't understand is, bro, you're telling us to trust in you in the news. You're going to be honest with us. You're going to be telling us the truth. Meanwhile, you're dyeing your freaking hair, bro. So like, you're telling us you're an absolute phony. But you've got to see it, bro. It's freaking hysterical. But my point was, getting back to Hogan. Yeah. I don't know if you've thought about this, John, but bro, can you imagine? So let's see. When Hulk really came in prominence is 80. When did he beat this shit? I always get confused between 81 or 83.
January 23rd, 1984.
84. Okay, so what? 94, 2004, 2014, 40 years. 40
Yeah.
years. 40
Yeah.
years. John, can you imagine? I can't imagine this for the life of me. Can you imagine for 40 years always having to be Hulk Hogan? Always having to be on. Bro, if you showed anybody in the world a picture of Hulk Hogan, they knew who he was.
Yep.
So you're talking about, bro, this guy cannot step outside of his house without people knowing it's Hulk Hogan, bro. So you're talking about a supermarket, a restaurant, out with the family, going to a movie, going on a golf course, 24/7, bro. For 40 years, this guy had to be on, because if you met him, you were expecting him to be a certain way. John, can you imagine living your life like that for 40 years, where you could never let that guard down? You could never be you. He could never be Terry Bollea. I can't imagine the psychological impact that would have on a human being for 40 freaking years, John, to always have to be on. I can't imagine that, bro.
It would be exhausting. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, whew, crazy. And the thing
God.
with Hulk too, and I've met thousands of wrestlers. I've interviewed thousands of wrestlers. He literally, no joke, it's probably the nicest I've ever met or talked to. So it's like, not only that, he's got to he's got to keep it up. He's got to keep his spirits, but he's genuinely like the nicest guy too, which might shock some people. But maybe Sting is close, Piper very very close, but Hogan to me was the nicest.
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree with that. God, bro, it's man, John. I don't know if you've seen it recently, but there's a lot of clips and everything, since his passing. Man, did you see the first time he appeared on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson? Right off of Thunder Lips.
Oh yes. Oh, and he's talking about how big his arms are and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, bro, did he not come across as a totally different person? That was not the Hulk Hogan who came to be. People, you guys should go back and watch that, because he's such a quiet, humble, talking in regular voice. I mean, it's unfreaking believable. John, I would love, obviously we'll never know this. Man, if things did not work out the way they did for Hulk Hogan, I wonder what Terry Bollea would have been. Because, bro, I mean, and I know this, everything about the dude, but people watching this may not know this. Bro, the dude was a great baseball player. He was a musician. He played the guitar. So he had a lot of talents, man. It would just be, I wonder, John, what he would have wanted to be if he had not been. I would guess a musician, because that's what he was trying to do before he became a wrestler. When you interviewed him, did that ever get brought up?
No. Never brought that up. No, we're just talking about his wrestling, his legacy and stuff. Never anything about his personal life. But he was a bass player, right? He played the bass.
He played the bass, and from what I read in his younger years, and I mean, you look at the size of him, I believe it. He was a great baseball player. I mean, he could hit a baseball. But just interesting, man. Of what would he have done if not been in wrestling? I'm confident, bro, that he would have been successful no matter what, because wrestling or not, bro, the guy's drive, nobody worked harder than the guy. And, bro, he had to be exhausted. And we're even seeing at the end of his life, John, he's still going to All-American beer and driving from town to town to town. Bro, he never, ever stopped, man.
Yeah, always was maybe doing too much. And like Bubba was saying, his daughter was saying, it's like, you got too much going on. Then you got that restaurant in the middle of Times Square, right next to MSG, or a little bit down from Times Square, but it's that right by MSG, like crazy. He's got way too much going on. The beer,
and it's just weird, John, because it's like I always ask myself this question with guys like Hogan, man. And listen, I'm not them, so like I don't understand it. But like when you've had that type of success, I just always wonder, like, bro, when is enough money enough? Like, my God, bro, if I had Hogan money at my age right now, bro, you would never see Vince Russo again. You would never see me. You would never hear from me. I would live someplace secluded where I wanted to live, where I'm not being bothered. I would be doing all the things that I want to do. But I don't know if with somebody like Hulk, bro, it just gets so in their blood and it just gets so ingrained, bro, that you almost don't know how to stop. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
bro? And
Yep.
then, because John, I swear, it's like people ask me all the time about the Attitude Era. Oh, bro, how is it? How did it feel when you finally passed WCW and whatnot? And what I always tell them is, because it was such a grind, John, and it was week after week after week, and it was 2 shows and a pay-per-view, blah, 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 you never had the time to stop and smell the roses. I don't think Hulk ever had the time to do that. And, bro, the only reason I'm bringing that up, John, is because, bro, if he would have done that, who knows? Maybe it would have added 5 more years to his life. You know what I'm saying, John? I think there comes a time in life where you've got to stop. You've got to enjoy the labors of your work. You've got to enjoy your career. You've got to enjoy what you've accomplished. And you just got to take a breath. And it just seems like this dude never took a breath.
Yeah, it just kept going and going. It's crazy because you think about it, right? Late 70s, mid to late 70s, he starts wrestling. He's training. He becomes a huge star in New Japan Pro Wrestling, where you kind of see the charisma. It's like, wow, this guy's going to be a huge star. IWGP champion, technically the first for New Japan. Then he goes to AWA. They don't pull the plug on giving him the title for whatever reason, obviously, but you could see how popular. I mean, he beat Nick Bockwinkel. They take it away. Give him the title. They take it away. Give it back to Bockwinkel. But you can see the popularity and how popular he is. You could see from Thunder Lips, this guy's got charisma. He's a star. So Vince McMahon Jr. becomes, the owner of WWF from his father, and he's a placeholder because he sees cable. He sees where they're going, and he picks Hogan. Do you think that when you looking at it, right? Because obviously without Hogan, where's Vince? Without Vince, where's Hogan? It's kind of the conundrum. People always say who made who. So who do you think? Who made who? Because Vince is the guy bringing him in, but without Hogan, Vince's project, if you will, his WWF, where he visions it, might not go where he wants it to go.
I got to be honest with you, bro. And I'm not just saying this because of the current circumstances. I think Hulk made Vince. Listen, bro, let's be honest. It's what you said. Vince decided to go with Hulk. Okay. But at that time, John, with everything you just laid out, New Japan, AWA, isn't that kind of a no-brainer? I mean, if you're Vince McMahon and you're looking at this guy at that point, I mean, bro, you don't got to be a rocket scientist. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, when you're looking at this guy and you're looking at the normal wrestler, even the main event wrestler, even a guy like Bruno, and you and I love Bruno to death.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about charisma, television star, icon, that's not a Bruno Sammartino. So to me, yeah, bro, Vince gave him that start, but I kind of think, John, it was a no-brainer.
When you look at it with Vince, right? Like he wants to do cable. Eventually, they're going to start doing pay-per-view and like everything kind of. But every Saturday night's main event, but it's all on the back of Hogan. Yes, yes. Oh, Vince's money or Vince, blah blah blah. If you're doing all this stuff, and let's just say it's Dusty or Piper, all these guys are awesome. I don't know if they have the national global appeal of a Hogan where you could put the whole thing on his back and be like, oh, by the way, NBC, we got this Hogan guy. You want to do Saturday Night's Main Event? Yes. You need a host for Saturday Night Live? Yes. They don't need all this stuff. It's all predicated on like Hogan. Even the toys. The big thing was, oh, is Hogan involved? Like everybody sniffed it out. And with I know Vince, you could tell was jealous a little bit of Hulk because he's getting the credit, he's not getting the credit. So I feel like now Vince finally that Hulk passed, he can finally admit all this stuff. He's the greatest. He's the reason thank God Shane's saying thank God for him because he made my family so much money and we wouldn't be here without Hulk. So I feel like finally now that they can admit it, but Vince, for whatever reason, for all those years, is almost like pulling and tugging, saying, "No, it's me," not
Yeah,
giving Hulk the credit.
I don't think that was a Hulk thing, John. I think that's just a Vince McMahon thing. You know, Vince McMahon always wanted to have the aura that he was Walt Disney. I mean, he was always that guy from day one. So I don't think that was a Hulk thing. But here's another thing, John, you got to bring into perspective. When you talk about Hulk carrying that company on his back, bro, what about the pressure? That
Oh my
easily could
God.
have broke somebody. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And John, you know how professional wrestlers are and how flaky they can be. That could have broken somebody, bro. The average guy would not have been able to handle that freaking pressure. So
Yep.
Hulk had to be able to handle the pressure that came with that stardom. So yeah, bro. Again, I don't take anything away from Vince. But to me, that was a no-brainer.
And obviously the booking of it is great too, because once you have a guy like Hulk, you have to feed him, guys that are big. So beating Iron Sheik was huge. He was hated
Yep.
beyond belief, hated. So January 23rd, 84 at MSG when Hogan beats him, that crowd. I love, rewatched it a few times recently, obviously for obvious reasons, but it's a short match, but it's awesome. The crowd is electric. And Gorilla Monsoon, greatest line ever. He just goes, Hulkamania is here. Like
Yeah.
simple, you just like, and then you see him going like this, and the crowd is nuts, and he's holding the belt. You can't get better than that. Just what an awesome start. But to feed the Sheik to him was perfect because
Yeah.
everybody hates Sheik.
Yeah. But John, that's why I keep saying, like, people now talking about Hulk and, like the back and forth debate. What was he the GOAT? This and that. Is he on Mount Rushmore? I'm like, brother, unless you were there to see Hulk's run, you don't have a freaking clue. You don't have a clue. So unless you lived through it, John, like we did, and you saw it all going back to MSG and the Sheik, and you saw the run and you saw what he meant, it's nobody comes close. John, I worked with Rock in freaking Austin. They don't come close. I mean, I've said that from day one. And that's why I keep saying, man, if you guys were not around during that era, you have no idea what you're talking about, because this guy was a freaking god. He was a god. He was a rock star. He carried the entire business on his back, and nobody's come close to that ever.
I was saying to my buddy, joking around, if you want to do Mount Rushmore and do 4 Hogans, I'm okay with it. Like,
Yeah,
you want
I
to put
am
4,
too.
yeah.
I am too. I really am, bro. Because again, I lived it. Like you said, that moment with the Sheik, I lived it. I saw it all, man.
Man, the electricity, that was just nuts with the eye of the tiger, everything nuts.
John, do you know? I don't know if we talked about this. John, I was at the Garden the first night he ever faced Savage in the Garden.
Awesome.
John, the building was shaking. I swear to God, my right hand to God, I remember it. I'd never been to a wrestling event where the building shook. And I've been to WrestleMania 4, I've been to WrestleMania 5, I've been to WrestleMania 10. I never was in a building. The Garden, bro, people were hanging from the rafters, and it was shaking for a wrestling match. And it was Hogan and it was Savage. And I mean, bro, I've never, ever experienced that in my entire life.
Just amazing. Just shows you, like, not only the power of Hulkamania, like the charisma, the when you're really like rooting for somebody, it's like nowadays you could be like, oh, I like this guy, I hope he wins. Like, no, you were like invested, like literally,
Right.
like life or death. Like it's a baseball game in the bottom of the ninth. Like strike him out, Mariano Variano, get the World Series win. Like Hogan, like you literally were like invested if he won or lost, like legitimately like living through him. Like please win, Hogan, please win.
I
Like you would
know.
be physically like attached to him. It's like crazy.
Yeah, and it's kind of just like it was. That's just the way it was back then, John, because you got to give Bruno his props. And John, I can't tell you how many times, man, watching Bruno at the Garden defending his title, and bro, when he would start to bleed, you would think it's over. Oh my God. Like you were so freaking invested in him. I mean, I think
Yep.
that's where it really, really, really started. And you're right, John. Like, I swear to God, one of my biggest problems with professional wrestling today is, bro, you don't care who wins or loses. It makes no difference. You're not invested in anybody. Heels come out and they're singing along like he's a baby face. And back then, bro, like, it's like, John, like the Giants lose a football game, that stays with you a couple of days. The Yankees, blow it in the ninth. That's, you go to bed thinking about that. Bro, it was like that with wrestling. Like
Yeah.
when Hogan lost the title to Taker, remember? And then they did Tuesday in Texas. It
Yes.
was like that. Like you went to bed thinking about a wrestler losing a belt. Bro, that does not exist today, man. Does not
Yep.
exist.
Oh my God, I remember WrestleMania 6. Was like distraught. I hated Warrior for a while after that. I was like distraught. That
Yeah,
like ruined me for a while. Yeah, I was so pissed. Yeah, I'm 7 years old or
absolutely.
whatever at that point, but not not happy with Warrior for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah,
But I give my friend's grandfather the credit. He never like broke it to us like, guys, scripted, or you know what I mean? He never
yeah,
like he let us be upset.
yeah,
He
yeah.
did like let us go. He's like, guys, that was a rough one. Hulkster, I thought he had it. He let us go, but we were upset literally for like for the rest of the week at least. Probably,
Absolutely.
I was actually upset with Warrior for like years.
Yeah, that's the way it was. I can remember, Bryce. Swear to God, I remember when Spiros Arion shoved Chief's ceremonial headdress down his throat. Oh my God! Like, bro, I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And like I said today, it's like, it's so freaking different, bro.
It was crazy. People talk about like, oh, the heel, and heat and like whatever. So Hogan's the champion basically for 4 years, right? There wasn't like obviously people would get heat on him and Bundy would take him out and break his ribs and they would do different like Piper would beat him up and Orndorff would turn on him and beat him up, do all these cool stuff. But at the end of the day, Hogan always won. So it's not necessarily about the chase because it could be quote unquote predictable, but if it's like Hogan or a babyface you love, like you desperately want to see him win. So I feel like the heat and the chase and stuff, that's not really necessarily true because 4+ years of Hogan as champion, I mean, the business was booming beyond belief. It was the biggest wrestling boom maybe ever. It was just gigantic, but it was a baby face. So you didn't really need as much heel heat except, to get Hogan, and then Hogan gets, the comeuppance on the heel.
Yeah, but also, John, you got to think about too, because you just mentioned a couple of the guys. Bro, you had so many guys that were even par with Hogan. You know what I'm saying, bro? You had the Savages, and you had the like you said, the Pipers and the Orndorffs, and all these guys that were absolute superstars in their own right. And bro, you hated Piper as much as you loved Hogan. Like
Yep.
that was the thing. And bro, here's what I think it all comes down to. They convinced you it was real. You know what I'm saying? That's the magic of wrestling. Yes, it is a work. We know it's a work, but you get caught up in it because the performers are making you believe this is real. And, again, John, we all knew it was a work back then, but you were so invested in the stories, you never thought about it. You always thought about what are they going to do? Like when you talk about Warrior and Hogan, bro, you're buying that pay-per-view because you don't know what they're going to do. Like
No clue. Yep.
how are they going to get out of this? Who's going to pin who? Like same with Andre and Hulk. Bro,
Yep.
that drew the way it did. You did not know what that finish was going to be. And that's why they had you so wrapped up in the story. Whereas, like I say, you fast forward to 2025, do you really care what the finish is? It's such a different world, man.
With Hogan too, they always say, "Oh, they had all these heels lined up, and like he had all these awesome guys to work with." But he was a part of that. He was picking some of the guys, so it's not like, "Oh, it was all the booking." No, he was like saying, "This guy Bundy." He would say, "Big Boss Man." Like he was bringing in some Savage. He's bringing these guys and saying he wants to work with them. So yes, obviously you get not lucky, but you get Piper there, and you're like, well, holy shit, this guy's like the greatest heel of all time. Like,
Well,
you go up against Hogan, but you had Hogan picking a lot of those guys.
and not only was he picking them all, John, his work was getting them over.
Yes.
He was getting them over through his work. What do I mean by that? Let's start with selling. Selling, bro. You never see anybody sell anybody's anything today. Hogan had you convinced Bundy was killing him. When Bundy goes for the title, it's over. So he's selling them, making them look larger than life, monsters, and believable. That's the art of selling, bro. Without that, you don't have these hated heels that you had back then.
I love that run, though. Arguably, and maybe the best title run ever. I know people say, "Oh, who cares about?" But I love looking at it and being like, "Who did this guy beat? How much money did he make? How big did he draw?" So it's like, okay, Piper. Then you start WrestleMania with that, basically with that feud, and you start building like Saturday Night's Main Event. You start building all these big things off of Hogan, and then the feud with Piper, and then you look at Orndorff. Man, in the big event in Toronto, they sold 70,000 tickets, and they basically, it's like, oh, 10,000 seats. This is awesome. No, they end up selling because of Hogan, Orndorff, and that feud. So it's like, holy shit, him and Orndorff made so much money. And I was even looking it up. They wrestled over 100 times, and they made like thousands upon thousands, and if you want to do inflation, probably millions upon millions just from that feud alone. And starting and stopping, Orndorff turns babyface, and then Orndorff clotheslines him, and then turns on, and they make even more money. And then Saturday Night's Main Event, 20 million viewers for Hogan, Orndorff in the cage. And like, thinking about it, it's like, man, these feuds are awesome, and this title run is awesome, but he is making money and creating events, which creates more money all along the way. It's like insane to think of like what he did and what was put on him and how he just took it and ran with it.
Yeah, and then pass that along to Andre. And then after Andre, you're passing that along to Savage, where I said Madison Square Garden is still shaking after all that. Bro, he made magic. I mean, that's really what it was at the end of the day. He made magic with a lot of people. Bro, now we have a situation where, and we already saw it once, first time they put the belt on Cody Rhodes, all right, now what do we do with him? That's exactly what happened. There was no follow-up. Now, they've done the same thing again. Okay, bro, you got the title back on him. Now what do you do with him? Bro, you always knew where Hulk was going. And like you said, John, every single feud, you're talking about a minimum of 3 months. I mean, my God, after 3 months, it was just getting started. Most of these were 6 months, bro. And again, that is just the lost art of today. And again, if you didn't see any of this, you just have no idea.
And think about Hogan. Okay, WrestleMania 3 happens, 93,000 people. He beats Andre. I love this match. I don't care what anybody says. It's so awesome. And WWE released footage of a closer camera with no sound from the announcers. So it's even louder than you realized it wasn't.
Wow.
So, and it's like zoomed in. So it's so cool. It's like you just feel the energy. So like, okay, that's awesome. They drew so much money. They did so good. Hogan and Andre. And then Pat Patterson and Vince were like, well, how do we make even more money off Hogan and Andre? Oh, let's create SummerSlam. Let's do, like the Royal Rumble contract signing. Like they just keep making more money and more money. And then even before that, obviously Survivor Series off the back of Hogan and Andre, really Hogan, but that feud. So they're creating 3 more pay-per-views essentially with that feud, and they just keep building it. Then Main Event, 33 million people are watching them on TV. So it's not like Hogan's feuds, they stall. No, they build and build and build, and they blow it off. I mean, just expertly done. But every time you think like, oh, Hogan's done, he hulks up and he comes back, and then they draw 33 million people, 93,000 people in attendance. It's the enormity of it is, it's like I feel like we almost can't do it justice.
And not only that, he repeated it in 1996.
Yeah,
which is insanity. Yeah. Absolute insanity. Absolute insanity.
And if you look at it, right, and obviously you were there WrestleMania 4 and 5, he did a year-long feud with Savage. They're the Mega Powers, and the Mega Powers explode. They were saying the business at that point, even more than Andre, even more than Orndorff, if you look at the money, because they were saying the money was ridiculous for those feuds, that they made even more money with Savage because everybody was so invested in the Mega Powers, which, by the way, helped Boss Man Akeem, even before that, helped DiBiase get over. Then he helped Savage get over, become the world champion. So he's lifting all these guys up, like he's raising all the ships here in this time.
Yeah, no doubt about it, bro. I mean, you just brought up Ted DiBiase as an by the way, But no,
Yeah.
bro, he made
Yeah, yeah,
DiBiase's career
yeah.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Yep.
Bro, Ted DiBiase was a great wrestler. I mean, make no bones about it. But bro, he would have been a middle of the card guy without Hogan. I mean, he may be the one guy that really benefited the most from the Hogan rub. I really believe that because Ted DiBiase's entire career was based on Hulk Hogan, man.
And when people look at like pay-per-view buys and stuff, pay-per-view was just becoming something then. So it wasn't necessarily so easy to get pay-per-views. Now literally I click a button on my phone or on my computer or whatever, and boom, I got the pay-per-view. It's so easy now. Plus they track internationally. Back then they really weren't tracking internationally. Hogan Savage, after the DiBiase, after the Andre, then the mega powers and mega powers explode. Draw 750,000 like domestic buys for people were like loving Hogan Savage. So I mean, they killed it money wise, but obviously all along the way, Hogan's got all these cool bridge feuds going. I would say like almost like a bridge, like
Yeah.
Bossman is the bridge leading to Hogan Savage, or Hakeem's on that bridge, and Hogan just keeps making money along the way. I was looking up Hogan, Bossman had 2 cage matches in one day, Boston Garden, MSG, both sold out. So 20,000 fans, 20,000 fans, and you figure the money and the merch in one day,
And
40,000 tickets,
yeah.
5 hours apart.
And now
Nuts.
they don't even do house shows anymore.
Yeah, they got to do them again. I hate that. I hate that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
John, let me ask you something. What did you interview him one time?
Yes, once. Yep.
How long was the interview?
It was only like 5 minutes or so. It was really quick. I've met him 5 times though, so I've talked to him a bunch, just in meeting him.
Oh man, so you only got to really interview him for
Yeah,
5
it was
minutes.
short. Yeah, it was really short. Yep.
Wow. Because I was just going to ask you, did you take anything away from that interview that you didn't already know? Did you learn anything from that you didn't already know?
It was just interesting just to think of like what he thought of his legacy and like who did he make like the most money with and stuff like that. And it was just interesting to really get his opinion because he was saying kind of legacy is up to whoever's saying it, but he would say like a lot of people say I'm the greatest, and money wise would kind of agree with that. So he was kind of saying it's kind of like in the fans' eyes, but it was just interesting to think like who his like favorite or top opponents were, and it was all guys he made like a ton of money with. So I'm like, man, he's so like obviously bit like that's what the business is about. Piper, Andre, Savage, Orndorff, and I think Bundy, or it might have been Stud, one of those guys. But that was basically like who he thought, and it was kind of like wow, it's like he was still treating it, 70 years old, still thinking about money.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. A businessman first. I mean, really, he was probably a businessman first, and he built this brand and this iconic character that will clearly go on forever.
Yeah, I love just it's like you okay, look at the history of WrestleMania. He is Mr. WrestleMania. There is no WrestleMania without Hulk. Obviously, he main event basically, 8 of the first 9, if you really want to say. And even then, WrestleMania 4, he's a part of the main event. He helping Savage win. He's right there with Savage and Liz. I mean, it's basically it's all about Hogan for the first all those WrestleManias. The Slaughter one I know didn't do as good as they thought it could, but that's like one of those political things where I don't know if they should have gone that route. I loved it. I thought it was great. But man, the fans, there was like an uproar. People didn't like that. Like he's literally burning the flag and stuff like that. Like people did not like Slaughter being the Iraqi turncoat. So that's like, a little bit of a miss. But then Sid, I know the match isn't great, but still drew all those thousands of people. So I mean, WrestleMania is not WrestleMania without Hulk either.
Bro, I say this all the time and I don't even freaking hesitate because people always, the attitude era, the attitude era, the attitude era. Bro, the first 3 years of WrestleMania, 1 to 3, was the greatest era of wrestling I witnessed, without a shadow of a doubt. Not even close. I mean, I've been saying that forever and ever and ever. The birth of those WrestleManias, when you really saw the wrestling business, come into mainstream and come into pop culture, and it started being on the TV Guide and Johnny Carson and all that stuff. To me, that was the best period in wrestling that I witnessed, without a shadow of a doubt.
So good. And obviously towards the end of the Hogan era, if you will, I say 84 to 93, because obviously he leaves in the summer of 93. It's just one of those things where, yeah, it kind of petered out and maybe it wasn't, as what it was. And maybe the business was kind of suffering a little bit. But WrestleMania 9, they needed a jolt. and obviously, if you've seen the documentary, Vince calls Hogan. He goes, "We need the Hogan jolt. We need the Hogan dust." And Bruce says it too, like we need the Hogan, the pop, if you will, for this WrestleMania. It's not WrestleMania without Hulk. The people in Vegas were begging for Hulk. Where's Hulk? You got to get him on this card. So it's not like, oh, Hogan was Hogan. Blah, blah. Vince agreed to it, and Vince knew he needed Hogan at that point. And
Well,
to be honest, to be fair to Brett was booked like shit too. I mean, they booked him like terribly, but still, they needed Hogan.
so WrestleMania 9 was Hogan Brett.
No, no, no. Brett versus Yoko. It was Hogan and Beefcake against Money Inc. And then Hogan versus Yoko in the main event. Hogan comes out and basically beats Yoko for the title.
Oh, okay. God, I don't. Was that Vegas?
Yes,
God, I don't.
1993 Vegas.
I vaguely remember that.
So basically, Vince was saying, "Oh, you're going to end up feuding with Brett," but they turn it around, and obviously, people think it's all Hulk, but this is Vince. Vince is the boss. Vince makes the fun. He has Yoko go over Brett, then Hogan goes over Yoko. Hogan's the champ, which is so funny because he's the world champion. He's having a match in Japan with Great Muta a few months later, and he's saying that this title means nothing. I'd rather be the Japan, all IWGP New Japan champion. So it's so funny to see like that kind of like where Hogan's head's at, at that point.
So
But he comes back at King of the Ring and jobs to Yoko, and Yoko quote unquote kills Hulkamania.
and I remember I came along shortly thereafter, and it was my idea to put Hogan on the cover, getting pinned by Yoko because he had just went to WCW.
Wow,
And
nice.
I had to kind of sell that to Vince, bro, because Vince was not 100% on board with that, but it was just the fact that, man, he's at WCW now. We got a photo of him lying on his back. You know what I mean? And I remember that was one of the very, very first things I did when I was there. That was probably 94-ish, maybe
Yes.
95, maybe 95, somewhere in there.
Wow, nice. So the end of an era there, obviously, was with Hogan leaving after losing to Yoko. You never get the Hogan Brett match, and obviously there's some point of contention there and some controversy surrounding that. But obviously he ends up going to Thunder in Paradise for a while, and then he ends up in WCW. But I feel like let's stop there, and we'll do part two very very quickly, obviously right after this. So let's do the end of the era here.